But this, to me, is my baby going forward. And the reason for that is because in the past, like I said, all the integrations that we've done, whether be it like Mobiline or Palo Alto or anybody, any security integrations or any integration for that matter, whether Twilio or anybody else, in the past, we always had to go make changes in our code base. Right? So if a customer wanted a specific integration, they had to wait for a major release for us to release so that they can go get that integration, with, which is basically part of our ClearPass exchange, right? If you're familiar with that. And what we realized is our customers want all these integrations without having to wait for a year. We don't want them to wait for a year, right? We want to make it as seamless as possible, where they should be able to write any of the applications. We are not there yet, but that's the vision. But the idea here is how do we deliver all these integrations to the customers very, very quickly, right? And so what we're moving from, what we used to do in the past is moving to another newer model which is something that most of all the modern products or software products are doing, is offering microservices. Right? So we have built the microservices framework in ClearPass starting 6.6. It's been available and out there for 6 months. So what we can do is all the integrations that we talk about going forward, we will be able to offer that as a microservice on top of the OS. What that lets you do is similar to what you would see in, say, iPhone. We talked a lot about iPhone 10 today, but it's similar to the iPhone, synergy. It's very similar to that in the sense that you have the base OS and you download all the applications from the App Store, right? And you can you can actually update the applications very independent of the OS itself. You don't do it in synchronized manner. Very, very similar concept, where we have something called as the apps are basically nothing but what we call as extensions, and similar to your Google extensions or anything else or apps that you develop, where we can create these microservices or extensions independent of the OS. Right? And we can deliver it to the customers. It can be tested and delivered to the customers independent of the longer software cycle of the OS itself. Right? That is, the framework is already built into the product. Now it's our job to go and create as many microservices as possible for all the integrations that our customers ask for. All the custom integration that our customers always ask for, now we can go do that very, very quickly. And the turnaround is independent of how the OS gets released. Does that make sense? Something that we're very, very excited about.
We call that a plugin then? Is it like a
we call it, yeah. So it's basically, and you can call it plugin, extension, or application, anything. But the idea is it's running in its own container, so to speak, right? And we call it extension. That's the name that we've given the delivery mechanism. So what this is basically does, it runs in its own container, right? So basically everything that happens within the environment is isolated. So if something goes wrong, you can actually develop and test and deliver very, very quickly without affecting the rest of your product, not breaking anything else in the product, because you are defining very clearly how this extension needs to talk to the base OS or the platform, right? Because that's done through API calls, and we define those APIs very, very specifically in terms just for the use cases, right? And we'll show you what are the extensions that's available today. I'm in fact going to open up, I wasn't planning on doing this earlier, but then I thought, okay, let's just geek out completely, open up the API Explorer, and I can show you how these extensions are and what capabilities you have today, right? And so we actually can, since it's very deterministic in terms of what it gets from the OS and what commands it gives to the OS, it's very, very controlled. And also from a deployment standpoint, today, we intend to write all the extensions for ClearPass. We, as in ClearPass engineering team, intends to write all the extensions for the integrations that we want to deliver. Going forward, the idea is to have a hosted app store where our partners can start writing integration extensions on top of the product. Okay. So this is basically the extensions that we have today. We have extensions that includes where we deliver integration with Intel EPO, Microsoft Intune, and Casada. It's an multi-factor authentication vendor, which is delivered as an extension. And Envoy, that you're going to hear from David in a bit after once I'm done with the session, is how we deliver the integration with Envoy also as an extension. So what this is letting us do is, if a customer comes and asks me today, Neela, I need an integration with partner X, and my patch release is not for another 2 months, or my major release not for another 6 months, I can still go do this, release this in a week. If that's all the effort is involved, I can go release this and test it out and release it to the customer as an extension in the store. Right? We're very, very excited about it. We're starting with integrations. In the future, we can use that for introducing features and a lot more with it as we understand more and more. So in terms of how the extensions are done, I just want to give you a quick example of what we're doing with these vendors, right? With Intel EPO, it's, and Microsoft Intune, it's very, very similar in the sense that where we are doing authorization against these vendors, right? So an authentication request comes in to us, to ClearPass, and we process the authentication request. We know where to put in which VLAN or which user, role in Aruba, if it's an Aruba infrastructure, whatever it might be, we know what to do with the user. But what this lets us do, if you want to do an authorization against any of these guys, EPO or Intune, we can send a request where the extension will be sending a request to the external entity, and then they will basically come back and say, oh, I know this MAC address, I know this user, and this is all the context that I have about this user, and I'm going to give you that information. So we take that context and we basically process that in our policy and go enforce policy. And the whole communication is done by the extension, and your OS is on this side and your communication to the external entities are on this side. Okay? Very, very, and by delivering it as an extension and not as a base platform, we can add functionality and things like that, tested out very, very easily, quickly. Right? That's an example of where we are reaching out to an external entity for a request. Right? We are doing an authorization source against an external entity. And Envoy is interesting because Envoy, where we are actually getting a request from them. Right? And David will actually go through and explain it more in detail, but they'll actually tell you how we can even receive requests coming from outside. So it's both ways, communication. And the specific actions you can take itself is dependent on the APIs that you see here. Hopefully I'm logged in. Okay, so this is basically the API Explorer within ClearPass, and this is for the extensions that we talked about. Today, we don't necessarily have a pretty UI where you can see all the apps running and things like that, extensions running. It's more of an API Explorer, but in the future, we will be adding very soon an UI for this where you feel more like going to an app store where you're going and downloading an extension or installing an extension and things like that. But this is the framework that it will be using. But I just wanted to show you, this is a little more geeky than I would want it to be, but the idea here is that this is the extension APIs, and these are all the things you can do where this is a store. Today it's actually hidden. All you have to do is, in the sense that for all the extensions that we're introducing, there's an ID that you would have to get from us, and you will have to add it here to actually see, sorry. So you actually have to add it here to actually see how, what that extension is. Because we want to keep it restricted because we are doing all the development for now. We don't want to just open it up because it's the first .0, so to speak, for this framework. But like I said, in the future, you will actually have a UI where you can quickly go and see all the extensions and everything else. You can download it and things like that. Once you see what extension you have, instance is basically how you would actually manage it, right? You will actually manage it, and if you want to configure it, if you want to log or restart the extension, anything else, it's available as an API today. And all the actions you do using the extension is done using all these APIs that's available in the product. So we are very much API first product. So obviously not just for the integrations that we're doing with all these vendors, even for the product to evolve and morph going forward, we need that. So that's pretty much all I had. Any questions on the extension?
What's the turnaround time like on an extension these days?
It depends on, so I can tell you for an example, EPO took us like a month, primarily because you also it's a lot of back and forth working with the team and things like that, but the development effort itself is not that much. A lot of the extension is just like, okay, building the use case coming from a customer or whatever, and then trying to figure out from both the teams what the expectation is. And at the end of the day, all you're trying to do is, okay, what API call should I be making from ClearPass? Or what API call should you be making from your side to ClearPass? And just figuring that piece out, and once we have that, it's fairly quick. Yes?
Is that development right now, is that something that is, a certain customer poses a use case, or is it something where we can reach out to Aruba as a partner maybe and engage professional services to get that done from Aruba? Or is it something that's, hey, this is going to be a feature that's going out, so Aruba's investing resources in it?
So very good question. So today, it's all primarily customer use case driven. If there is a customer asking for a specific use case, the best way to solve that is extension because we can get that quickly to them. And so it's heavily customer driven, and we are building it because we have full control over the extensions, and we are building the apps or extensions, so to speak, on top of it. But going forward in the future, partners, like I said, once we have the UI, partners will have access to the extension store. And initially, they'll be able to access the existing extension. In the future, very soon we want to have them the ability to go add extensions or add Apple extensions by themselves, where they write the code and deploy it in ClearPass, test it out, and then they give it to whoever the customer or whatever. So not today, but that's our idea.
Yeah.
Very soon.
You have a vague sort of time frame beyond in the future?
I'm allowed to say in the near future, but you should see something from us very soon, because all this work is a lot of heavy lifting, because we've already done the heavy lifting, which is basically putting the framework and making it work. Now it's up to us. If you tell us, for instance, I want an integration, which probably we don't have inbound APIs within our product, which like the ones that we have today, we have to go add it from our end, and those are all things that we have to take into account when we go do something like that before we commit to it. We have already dedicated engineering resource to go just do this project, and that one-man show is not going to help us when you go big with partners. So we want to keep expanding the team. So that's why I said, in the near future. Any other questions? Okay, great. I'll let, I want David to come up here from Envoy, who's here. Thanks for coming, David. And he is going to talk all about how our integration exactly is with Envoy. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks. So we're pretty psyched to be here today and show off something our team has been working on. And we've put a lot of passion into this. We've both been working on platform projects, and this has been a great alignment. Aside from the features we were able to add with our ClearPass integration, one of the reasons this integration made so much sense for us as a flagship was just the alignment and the way we approach the same challenges or similar challenges with microservices on our end and microservices in the ClearPass extension platform. But before I dig too deep in that, I'd love to just introduce you guys to Envoy a little bit. So to oversimplify, we're a visitor registration product. Let me see if I can get these slides going. There we go. Designed to easily collect a visitor's contact information, capture a photo as they check in, and have them sign legal documents, all on an iPad. Our mission is to make awesome visitor and host experiences the universal workplace standard. We've worked really hard to create a product that changes how people around the world are greeted, from pen and paper sign-in books to a beautiful, easy for anyone to use iPad-based visitor sign-in experience. But Envoy doesn't stop at just the visitor's experience. Employees have access to a web portal and mobile app where they can easily pre-register visitors, inviting them to a meeting, automatically sending out a calendar invite, meeting details, and more to the visitors before they arrive. In addition, employees are notified as soon as their visitors arrive via any method they choose, including email, SMS, Slack, HipChat, or a direct push notification to their mobile device, allowing the employee to see a picture of the guest and any additional information that was collected during the sign-in process. As a visitor using our iOS app, Envoy Passport, your experience gets even simpler. Envoy iPads detect your passport using iBeacon technology, and it's pretty simple. As you approach, your avatar pops up on the screen, you tap it to sign in, and your name and information appears automatically on the iPad. Aside from the actual check-in experience, we automate as much as we can, including badge printing and even legal agreements like NDAs, which can be synced automatically to a file sharing service your legal team uses, like Box or Dropbox, leveraging the Envoy platform. And all this with one goal, to make the guest's visit as enjoyable as possible. This is what we feel really sets Envoy apart. By focusing on an incredible visitor experience as our first priority, we've been able to build a product that's used and loved by some of the most exciting companies, including Box, Pandora, GoPro, Yelp. and more. Thousands more. We've spent years working on the features I mentioned and a lot more, but I won't dig into those on account of how annoying that might be. The excitement we see from our customers about this experience is a huge reward. But we haven't stopped pursuing new ways to improve that, which brings us here. And we're excited to talk about how integrating the Envoy platform with Aruba via the ClearPass extension framework has taken away yet another pain point for guests coming to your business. So I joined Envoy to help build a developer platform that would allow us to do things like this integration. For those of us who've spent our life in the virtual world of software engineering, it's rare that we get an opportunity to actually break through that virtual wall and reach into the real physical world with good engineering. But that's what Envoy is, a literal touch point between technology and reality. The Envoy platform is engineered to allow for third-party integrations, and similar to ClearPass, we found a way to securely sandbox the logic of each plugin while still opening up a huge amount of the feature set of our product to integrations. Integrations on Envoy and ClearPass both are first-class citizens, and by creating platforms that leverage the power of microservices, we've both found a way to solve problems that would normally require either self-hosted infrastructure or hackish workarounds to get around firewalls and other on-prem challenges like that. For us, as a cloud software company, we're coming from the opposite direction of ClearPass and meeting exactly in the middle. We needed a way to hook on-prem enterprise solutions into a cloud-based experience, and ClearPass needed a way to open up the features of an on-prem enterprise solution to cloud-based tools without compromising security. What's awesome about this crossover in philosophy is that at the end of the day, the microservice architecture we've both implemented allows us to create one standalone application that functions as an integration to both services simultaneously. On our end, we're building hooks into every aspect of our product, from custom actions on invites and entries, customizable fields, full control of the setup and configuration flow of each plugin, notification messages, check-in flow, even badge content. Building a good platform is about removing limits and enabling developers to creatively solve problems without requiring those solutions to get rolled into the release cycle of a monolithic application, which is what you were just talking about. You might not think the visitor experience is the first place you'd find a full-fledged platform, but what energizes me is that this is actually the most natural place to build integrations. Many enterprise software solutions provide powerful tools to companies, but the user experience is most often focused around management, metrics, security, reporting, all wheels we have no desire to reinvent at Envoy. But opening up Envoy to these tools and hooking them into the guest experience in a seamless, even invisible way allows us to focus on what we do best and empowers our partner products to do what they do best. So that brings us to the integration. So I don't know about you, but as an engineer who literally never lets my laptop out of my sight, the first question I ask when I come to a meeting is what the Wi-Fi network is and the password is. And almost without fail, there's some sort of drama around that. Either it doesn't work because my host forgot that the guest network password, aptly named guest password, actually started with a capital G, or they have to grab a card with a string of 500,000 random letters and numbers I slowly type in, hoping I don't get any wrong. And that's not even touching on the inherent security issues of having a universal guest Wi-Fi password that everybody shares and is a nightmare to change. Suffice it to say, the current process for getting guests' Wi-Fi credentials needed help. But thanks to ClearPass, not anymore. As an administrator, you can now easily connect the ClearPass to the Envoy visitor experience. You can find the Aruba ClearPass plugin on our integrations page, and clicking install gives you the information you need to proceed with configuring and installing the ClearPass extension on your local network. Once the ClearPass extension is activated, Envoy receives a health check notification that lets us know it's active, and the plugin installation process completes automatically.
Can you go back one slide? 2 slides?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have an Active Directory plugin there?
We do, yeah.
What are you doing there? Are you saying like a visitor is this person's
We have a
guest?
PowerShell script that runs on the server as a cron and basically syncs contacts from the Active Directory. So you can customize that PowerShell script and decide what directories you want to sync up. And so it's for the employee directory specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. So now the process of getting a Wi-Fi password actually is no process at all, since when you check in via Envoy at the front desk, you're immediately sent a text message with your Wi-Fi login information, and that's it. You're ready to go. You can copy, paste it. It's all there. So that sums up the integration there. And the credentials, they're completely unique. From a guest experience perspective, this is the type of thing we think people should expect. And from a security perspective, we think this is pretty exciting. So we believe that good security doesn't have to be at war with good user experience, and that's something that I think this integration really proves. So that covers our integration and what we've been working on with this. And if you have any questions, love to hear them.
Do you work with any security badge manufacturers as far as like giving them a daily badge so they can get in and out the exterior doors?
Yeah, we actually have 2 security systems we're integrating with Platform, S2 and Avigilon. And currently we're actually working with them on figuring out how to do the credentialing and lining that up with the check-ins and deciding, the configuration process is pretty complex there because you have different categories of visitors and some of them get different credentials, and trying to configure that through Envoy is an interesting challenge, but we are definitely working on that. And our platform does allow you to hook kind of any security integration into the flow. So if you have one that you're working on, the integrations are pretty simple to build in.
You mentioned the Envoy, I think it was a Passport app,
Yep.
right? Does that come in a SDK format as well?
Not at the moment. It's just an iPhone app that we've deployed. We're working on deploying it to Android as well, but it's not as an SDK right now.
And my thought around that is, we're looking at these customers that are doing these engagement scenarios, right? And obviously, that end customer a lot of times is an app that's involved in that process, right? It's challenging to get people to install apps and keep them on their phones anyway, right? So some feedback might be that, hey, like, if I can integrate this and make it, blend the Envoy onboarding experience into that customer's experience, and just say, hey, I realize you're using this for the first time. Let's make this really easy to get you, integrated. I think that would be a welcome feature.
That's brilliant. I will definitely pass that along. Any other questions?
Do you have any open APIs that'll work with your platform? So if I have an in-house application that I can maybe provision a user for through
Yeah, absolutely.
Envoy, is that something that
So we have an open API, and our platform SDK is in beta, but we'd be glad to set you up, and you could essentially build the same thing we just built with this.
Perfect, thanks.
Yep.
So I think we just wanted to give you an view into how we integrate very seamlessly with our partners. Right, Envoy is in a case where somebody is coming in, registering on their iPad, and that gets sent a request to ClearPass using our extension, and we go create a guest account, and we do all this magic in the back end. But to a customer, all they're seeing is registering, and then they're getting a text message saying, when you go clear Capita Portal, this is all you need to punch in before getting onto the guest network. So we're doing as much as we can, like I said, everything to ease any type of integration or anything at all, deployment from a customer standpoint.
So in this example with them, who's actually sending the text message? Is it ClearPass?
ClearPass.
ClearPass.
So it's similar to the guest registration that you did here when you walked in, but just that they're not punching all the guest user information on a captive portal to get the text message. Now they're doing it on Envoy, but since we've integrated with them, we can get that information, create a guest account for you, and send a text message using for the access.